Welcome to the Indie 5 here in Rauta. First, today we'll start with a Finnish band, which is next to unknown. This one's called Sarof, and the album here in question is called Force of Will. Now, this is a self-financed release. It's actually CDR, as you can see from the colors here. And what can I say? It's a digibook, self-financed, no label information whatsoever. And usually I have very little of expectations towards bands going this way. That is, if a label is not interested in your music, it usually means, not always, but it usually means you're not good enough. Go back to record more demos and then come back another time. Now, Force of Will is a nice positive surprise in his terms because, in fact, this is pretty good. Now, obviously, this is not music for everybody. The style is somewhat modern, melodic death metal, and that alone is a kind of a cursing word of sorts to so many people. But let's put it this way. This is the Finnish version of Amon Amarth in a way, yet a little bit different as well, and obviously not Viking themed. So, basically, if you know Amon Amarth, you know what to expect. Kind of a catchy melodies, yet still also very death metallic approach, that is, growly vocals and some pretty heavy riffing as well as good production. That is, this album sounds heavy and catchy at the same time. It's not uber melodic, but then again, it has those melodics to kind of create this, say, catchiness and diversity, not just going, this kind of palm mute riffs all the way along. So I would say Force of Will is a positive surprise, definitely quite good an album. So I urge you to check it out if melodic death metal is at all in your turf of metal. The second band comes from Germany. It's called Cryptic Brood. I was reading this so many times as Cryptic Blood. Who knows what kind of dyslexic problems I have here. Now, this one is founded in 2013. This is their second album called Outcome of Obnoxious Science. And what Obnoxious Science, it truly is some kind of monsters, skeletons and whatnot, kind of fantasy role-playing imagery here, but I do not complain. I like this kind of old school hand-drawn images when death and disease and what kind of stuff is out there. And here we have this trio of guys. This guy in the middle looks like, hey, I don't like to play death metal. Can I go play some grunge? I'll go with you. I have already grunge approved shirt here. And this next the guy here is like, okay, let's just make some death metal here in the German way. Jokes aside, this one is all about old school doom death. Why I say doom? Because this kind of a slow tempo parts are very much kind of a key element here with this album. So it's like slow paced at some points, being kind of a doom death. Then it also have these kind of a crytastic parts when it goes all the way down, blast beats and whatnot, and then it just stumbles upon these two different styles, and also some mid tempo parts with this kind of a muddy and dirty sound, kind of like if going back to the dirty grave. Even sun has gone away and it's all rainy, muddy, moist and whatnot, and then you see some skeletal hands pointing out. So it's kind of that kind of dirty, muddy, old school, what else? Down-tuned guitars and really growly vocals, good growly vocals that is, and also some raspy shrieks here and there. Now, this is kind of a hard thing to go with everybody because at the same time as it is being this kind of old school death metal in the late 80s, early 90s, it has these grindy parts and doomy parts, and they don't go often that well. And to be honest, I'm a little bit divided here. I would say it's better than mediocre one, but it's not very, very good. This definitely requires some kind of acquired taste for you to fully enjoy it, because some people who like doom death going slow and dislike the faster parts are not going to be comfortable all the way through with this album. And that the same goes vice versa. If you are all about blasting and going full speed, those slow parts will just bore you down. But in case old school fanatics, check out Cryptic Brood. It's Cryptic Brood. Maybe it should be Cryptic Brood. Maybe it should be your kind of cup of tea anyway if you're into old school death metal. don't minding doom and grind here and there. Third one in this Indie 5 is from Sweden, and it's not exactly pure metal. I'll explain. This one is Ofdrykkja, which is labeled on Metal Archives as post-black metal, which I guess in a way it's true, but it's always also a little bit misleading. Maybe that hold more truth before than with this third album, which is, by the way, here is beautiful A5 size digi sleeve, not digipack. As you can see, this is very thin cardboard release, not exactly the kind of a digipack which has more plastic. This is probably more nature friendly way. So anyway, what I was saying, that the music maybe before it was most post metal. Not the nowadays. This metal part is very limited with this 61 minutes of an album, because it's mostly acoustic guitars, clean singing, no drums, a little bit synth, and then some traditional instruments. Here is the band photo, by the way, which kind of sums up this feeling. Kind of a Swedish wool shirts, and then some guys sitting on there in a forest, mugs, and whatnot, and man buns obviously included. But you would be mistaken to say this is kind of a hipster metal, hipster music. I think this is very much like kind of a traditional Nordic music with keyboards. Well, that's not kind of a folk instrument, but kind of having this overall feeling with this kind of a man and an acoustic guitar by Bonfire creating some tunes. Now, mostly this is kind of a folk-oriented music, which means that traditional songwriting, and some parts even sound to me like they're traditional songs, not maybe written by the band. I'm not sure, but that's kind of beside the point. The point here is this is not exactly metal for most parts, because these instruments used here create very much more like organic feeling to the songs here. And as such, this is very soothing, kind of a melancholic, but very atmospheric overall, all around the album. Now, this is more, in my opinion, more about kind of like background music rather than kind of a riff-driven stuff here. So it's something that you could just play along when you're, I don't know, reading maybe, or just taking a look at the ocean side, walking in the forests. I don't know. It's not very much like metal in those respects. There are no metallic kind of a rock and roll riffs. There are no drum beats very much. There is very little anything electronic, except those some keyboard parts and some guitars which are here and there to kind of give you a little bit electric acoustic feeling. Now, I might want to say that this is a little bit related to what Murkur is creating, but still quite different. Also, because of these kind of a folkish, post-metallic things, this reminds me of Norwegian band Storm, which made those traditional songs into a kind of a more metallic, almost like black metallic way, but still having clean vocals. This is not exactly neither of those, but yet that has kind of a similar feeling in a way. Kind of hard to put this into one box because it's so diverse, which is in a way a nice thing because it offers you a versatility that many albums are not able to do. But at the same time, it's really divided because it's not really pure folk, it's not pure metal, it's not exactly one thing. But most of all, it's kind of melancholic background music. Well, in my opinion anyway. But once again, if you're into that kind of music, this is the kind of album you would be looking for, and very nice packaging. So maybe give this one a chance. You'll find more stuff in the link below. Fourth one in this Indie 5 comes from Spain, and it's doom death metal. If you have ever heard band Swallow the Sun from Finland, you know pretty much what to expect from this band called, well, how to say it, Son of the Dying. Spot the similarity here. This one is called The Earth is Silent, the second album by this band. And it's a nice looking digibag if you ask me. Pretty simple but kind of a nice cardboard feeling here. Kind of a nice. This is released by Art of Propaganda Records, that it's AOP. And here's the very simple white CD, and then we have obviously the booklet here, which features band picture. The guys are obviously kicking some rocks on the beach, like just please take the photo and let us get to the beers and tapas plates. Jokes aside, this one is of dark music, heavy, kind of a melancholic, blah blah blah. That is, you know the drill if you've ever been to listening Swallow the Sun. And if you haven't, well, probably you should start rather with that than this one. Even though this band is pretty talented with its music, I mean, it's all there. Dark, heavy, melancholic, somewhat clean vocals, little bit deep growling and all that stuff. This is, in my opinion, kind of a copycat band of Swallow the Sun. And while that is not as such a bad thing or bad idea even, I would say these guys are not near what Swallow the Sun is doing. They have all the right ingredients, but yet still these albums falls, in my opinion, in the category of background music. I mean, they basically so hard try to do what Swallow the Sun is doing with its music and kind of grasping the idea. But what they are missing is, I don't know, maybe the Finnish coldness and grimness. You know, here it comes from having long dark winters and cold climate, and we have this thing called Kaamos, which is like the nighttime, winter time and fall time, darkness coming all over us, and people's hormone levels get a little bit fracked because of that, and people are running into despair and suicide and whatnot. But if you go to Spain, it's totally different. You have parties, you're warm, you have tapas. It's something in the mindset. Well, in my opinion anyway. Worth checking out, but not as good as Swallow the Sun. And last but not least, we don't go too far from Spain. We actually keep in the same area, roughly speaking, because we go to Italy with Enemynside. This one is Chaos Machine. Now, this band has been before featured on Rauta as well, like in 2018 when they released their rather nice MCD, Dead Nation Army. And now it's time for their fourth full length. This band has been here around 1999, so it's not exactly a new band, even though probably went under the radar for so many reasons, and one of them being this is thrash metal style. And I could even say more old schoolish thrash metal, even though they kind of sound modern. That is, all the production and kind of a feeling is kind of a modern, but they are paying homage to very traditional thrash metal with its kind of a groovy and nice flow. I would even say this is something that Metallica could have been doing if they didn't decide to go the other path, that is basically forget their thrash metal roots after or with Black album. So basically Enemynside is picking those pieces and trying to create that kind of a 90s thrash metal feeling, and they do it quite well. In my opinion, this new album is not as cool as the EP was before, but still Chaos Machine is offering some nice groove riffs, good tempo, pretty good production values, and especially the vocalist is nice. It's kind of like James Hetfield before he kind of lost his voice, if you know what I mean. So he has the kind of a same kind of energy and the same kind of tune to it, which makes this album rather likable. It's not great maybe, but it's still some of the better thrash albums in my opinion for a while. Already out in 2019, I would say late October, so it should be out there already. So once again, we have a little bit older releases, but not too old. So get checking out those albums. You have all the links necessary below in the description box. So click and check out which ones you might like based on what I told you. And if you don't care what I say, just click and listen for yourself. Thank you for watching. See you soon. More indie stuff coming later on.